Hey everybody, let's talk about something that I actually always need a lot of help with, and that is patience. Now, I'm obviously going to give you a definition of patience, and first of all, I'll give you the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of patience, which is manifesting forbearance under provocation or stress, which are words you use all of the time, right? Absolutely not. So no offense to Merriam or Webster or anyone involved with creating such academically sound definitions, but that's just not the way people talk. So when I talk about patience, what I want you to think about is waiting for what matters. So it's not just waiting. I wait on a lot of things. I wait for people to get out of my way in the left-hand lane. Not very patient about it. Not that big a deal at the end of the day. Patience is what we're talking about when you have something that you want, a goal, let's say, and you know that you can wait for it. So obviously that's easier said than done, so I want to give you a couple of strategies to not only help you build patience, but to understand what it is. Now, Salman Akhtar's model of 4 components of patience, if we understand those components, we can try to work on building patience. So the first of those components is accepting reality for what it is. That's not just external reality, that's internal reality. So sometimes I have to accept my limitations. I have to accept my current situation. I have to accept the fact that the rest of the world is not currently communicating or cooperating with what it is I want to achieve. But I also have to accept my own internal reality. Sometimes I want something that I'm not ready for, and that can be even more difficult than accepting that external reality. But the first component of patience is accepting reality, both external and internal. The second is to have an absence of bitter feelings. Now obviously that's not always easy to do, but you have to let go of any kind of negativity. There's a lot of things that can cause that, one of which is this cognition, this thought process that everything is supposed to be fair and people are supposed to be considerate of what I want. Obviously the world doesn't work that way when you sit down and think about all the things that go wrong in your life. So when you just kind of accept those things, it can let go of some of the bitterness. The third is to maintain hope. Now, we talk a lot about hope in the positive psychology of pop music, but this is the idea that it will come. If you're patient, that's one thing, but if you don't believe that the goal or the situation you want will actually happen, then you're being patient for no reason. So you just have to keep hope, this idea that you will achieve that goal. And then finally, you have to wait for the right moment. Now, this one's a little bit tricky because obviously, like we said, your external reality and your internal reality may not line up with exactly what it is you want to achieve. So sometimes you have to wait. But you also have to figure out when that right moment is. And some people actually get caught up in the waiting and they don't seize that moment. So the right moment could be right now. That's why it's so important to think about those components, because if they're all lining up, then now is the right time. If not, maybe you have to work on your patience just a little bit. So those 4 components are acceptance of reality, external and internal, absence of bitter feelings, maintaining hope, and waiting for the right moment. So how do you wait for the right moment? Well, you hopefully will build your patience with these 4 tips that I've kind of gathered from lots of different places. The first is to trust your intuition. Now, psychology is a science, and so sometimes that makes concepts like intuition a little bit difficult. Actually, honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the way most people talk about intuition. Sometimes we talk about intuition as just an excuse to not do something or to do something that defies reason or logic. I'm going to check my partner's text messages because I just have this intuition that something's wrong. That's not what we're talking about here. In this concept, intuition is the idea that deep down, if you've thought about all of these goals, if you've thought about your realities and your feelings, then you can kind of figure out when that right moment will be, what you should wait for and what you shouldn't. So I'm using intuition as more of an internal, rather scientific process, not this feeling that I can just use whatever I want at any given time. So the first way to build patience is to trust that intuition. The second is to engage in positive self-talk. This is a huge part of the positive psychology of pop music. It's a lot of what pop music's about. It's a lot of what positive psychology is about. But sometimes we are so bombarded by negative thoughts, and that can come from outside, things that people tell us. It can also come from inside, this idea that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we'll never amount to anything. And if you have that negative self-talk, then patience is really tough because you lose that hope. You lose that idea that you can achieve what you want. So you just have to build yourself up, not just in terms of building hope, but building your internal locus of control. I have the power to do this. I can wait. I am strong enough. I am capable of doing what needs to be done. And then the third is to appreciate the pain. Now, obviously, that's not always easy to do, but pain is inevitable. It's a part of life, especially with all these things that we go through. And so one of the ways that you can build your patience is to think about pain as an informative process. Again, easier said than done. But if you can step outside of your emotions and go, all right, what can I learn from this really painful, difficult process, then it can help you. So let's say you're patient, you're trying to be patient to wait for a partner, and you've just gone through this really tough breakup, which hurts. So maybe you can think about all the things that you weren't happy about with that relationship, and then use this pain to realize what mattered to you, what you actually miss, and what you don't. And then that's ammo, that's knowledge you can use in future relationships. And then the last step to build patience is to just take one step at a time. Sometimes when we're impatient, we try to achieve everything we want, that entire goal, at that one time. And most of our goals aren't like that. So we really have to work on building our patience and just taking one step at a time. So obviously, just because you learn this stuff doesn't mean you'll master it. I can certainly be impatient at times, but this information has actually helped me boost my own patience just a little bit. Hope it does the same for you.